Y'all have the music live. Y'all don't
Realtist Real Talk Podcast. Hello, fellow Realtists. I am Amber Lewis.
And I'm Rob Pasker.
And we are your Realtist Real Talk Podcast team. And we are here with Malik Yoba of Yoba Development. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
We're so excited to have you.
Y'all brought some extra people.
Absolutely.
I like that.
We gotta raise the vibration.
Exactly. Get the energy going.
Absolutely.
Right?
So we here, Washington, D.C., CBC.
Mm-hmm.
What's the vibes, man? How you feeling out here?
It's always good to be here. Love DC. Love seeing our folk come together to figure out business,
Absolutely.
impact policy, hopefully lobby for some things, meet each other. See you again.
Absolutely.
Meet you for the first time.
Absolutely.
Have a red fancy mic.
Yes, sir.
I mean, what's better?
We bring the setup for you,
I
right?
like it.
Yeah. So you were on our panel, State of Emergency, buying back the block. And I mean, because real estate is a passion of yours.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us, what was your experience on the panel?
Panels are always too short.
Yes.
They're always too short.
Yes.
Never get all the stuff in. But it was good. It was good to meet some folks. Denise, I know, and I'm always amazed by her and her journey. Van, I know. Peebles and I have only had conversation over the phone, so it was good to meet him in person. And then Chris Senegal is amazing what he's doing. Absolutely. So it was a good group. But just give a shout out to the new president.
Yes.
President-elect Courtney for hitting the ground running and putting it together. But it was good. It was good to connect and to share some thoughts about what we're up to. And
100%.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It was not enough time to the point, to the fact where they shut the lights out on us.
They did. They said, get out of here.
That was different. That was different.
I'm going to try that.
I kept looking to the back. Did someone lean against the wall and turn the lights out by mistake? But yeah,
it was a good conversation, though. I mean, if you weren't there, it was standing room only.
It was.
You cannot deny the impact that it was. But going to impact, let's talk about Yoba Development. For those that maybe are not familiar, I know you're doing some great things, especially in the youth space. We want to make sure we hit that also.
Right. So Yoba Development, our slogan, builder of people, places, and things in that order. You can't build the places or the things without building the people. And you can tell by the audience's reaction, right? Mm-hmm. So when I asked the question at the end, or Van actually asked the question, how many people aspire to be on stage next year? Mm-hmm. Or even in 2 years, I was surprised by the lack of hands that went up. Mm-hmm. And so I can't assume what that meant. But I think knowing that we have these perennial problems around not being able to own and build in our communities, I would think based on the fact that the theme was buying the block, that there would have been perhaps more enthusiasm around that. But that's fine. Mm-hmm. I mean, people are where they are, right? Because I think it could feel pretty daunting. Mm-hmm. Right, like how the hell do you buy a block? Well, it depends on what city you're in. Mm-hmm. So, you can go 45 minutes down the road in Baltimore and pick up some blocks, or a city like Detroit. There's so many places, Memphis. So I think that the focus on making sure that young people are part of the equation is important. The way I think about real estate now at 56 is now I was thinking about it at 16.
Yes.
And so young people have access to information via social and internet. And I think we have to back that up with actual programming. So for us, being able to run the I Build New York program where we started in New York City, providing a pathway, access to the process for young people is important. There's a curriculum. We're in the schools. We started servicing kids from 8 different schools that all attend one school, so like a feeder program. Mm-hmm. We have a partnership with Pratt Institute School of Architecture, and just doing work around the country, visiting different municipalities, at least at minimum doing screenings of the Real Estate Mixtape, which is the NOC series that the curriculum is based on, and so that leads to not just giving them exposure, but also having them participate in things. Like, so I mentioned yesterday on the panel, our activation, which, we're partnering with NAREB to do in different cities when it makes sense. Yes. But that's a 2-day activation that brings together, like I said, the ecosystem of real estate, also technology, which is inclusive in real estate. We've had people who are from the federal government, people in government contracting. So there's many sort of giving young people as much exposure to all the different pathways, right? You know, because you can't do real estate without political involvement.
Absolutely.
And then if you talk political involvement, what does that mean from a contracting perspective on the city, state, or federal level? So showing them that there are pathways there as well. But also having them help design it, help them facilitate, help them host, help them not just sort of be on the sidelines, but active participants in the activation is really, really important. So there's that. And then that also helps lead to deals and opportunities. So as I travel the country, all kinds of, you know, you both are from Ohio, I'll be in Ohio. I was just in Cleveland. Actually, at the Growth Ops Energy Summit. It's called Rise Energy Summit.
Okay.
Started by a guy named Michael Jeans, who's the CEO of Growth Ops, which is a CDFI. I'll be in Columbus soon with, what is it called? Housing Equity Fund. Don't get me lying.
Okay.
Yeah, don't get me lying. They're gonna be mad at me. but
Blame
those
on
kinds.
The head, not the heart.
What's that?
Blame it on the head, not the heart.
Yeah, but those kinds of opportunities really come because of the educational approach, right? Being intentional about let's share this information as a entry point, and then you can build from that. So that's where we are.
People, places, and things. So
in that order.
So I mean, so I was able to hear you talk. We got acquainted in Detroit at the United Developers Council conference, and they're having another one in a few weeks in Detroit.
Yeah, I won't be there. It's I think I'm in I'm somewhere else. I think I'm in Augusta, where I have a huge development project I'm working on in Augusta, Georgia.
Wow.
So
making moves. So I was able to see the real estate mixtape and see like how you started your journey with the kids and, you know, building them up. But what you told us yesterday, you established a curriculum for New York City schools. Can you tell us about that program?
So based on the content that you saw, you know, we have a curriculum that, you know, isn't just about the real estate itself, right? So one of the things you find when you work with young people, and I always say this, we used to be the real estate. So when you talk about mortgages and stocks and bonds, right, those are financial terms related to the slave trade. And so when you think about, like I said yesterday, the first real estate you own is in your mind. So with young people, letting them know, like, you have agency from jump because you have this real estate that you can invest in. And so a big part of the process is teaching them soft skills, right? Social, emotional, learning stuff. Like, how do you sit in a room? Like, one of the first things we did was ask them, how would you define real estate development? And they don't really even know what that means. They hear the term, but don't know what that means. Or if you have a PowerPoint, have them get up and, okay, I want you to read from the PowerPoint. Right, they may be staring, looking at their shoes or mumbling. So a big part of that agency over self is understanding how to speak clearly, how to present yourself, how to have the confidence.
Absolutely.
So all those kinds of things. And then there's the historical stuff, right? So it's not just, this is how you do a pro forma, which is important, but understand the history, right? Reading, having, whether it's The Color of Law, Richard Rothstein's book, or, you know, Ta-Nehisi Coates, you know, A Case for Reparations, his book. So it's the curriculum, the literature that you have to be boned up on, the processes, introducing them to electeds, introducing them to other professionals, doing site visits, as well as this is how you know, can structure a deal. This is how you got to think about insurance, you know, site control, all the sort of mechanical pieces of the process.
Holistically.
Yeah.
I mean, because it sounds like you're building their confidence. You're giving.
That's the biggest part. That's the biggest part, because you could say, you know, I mean, so many of us come from traumatic experiences, right? you ask them one of the first questions you ask is, what made you want to sign up for this? And because I want to do better than my parents, or my parents always broke, or my parents owned some property and we lost it, and I want to figure out how to build it, or they still have property, we want to build on it. So really kind of meeting them where they are, addressing the whole person, right? Absolutely. So when we talk about builder of people, it's the emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, and financial, and having them look at their own lives through that lens. So it's not just about the business of the business, but it's the business of the people, if that makes sense.
I think it makes sense. And what I like about what you're saying, I'm going to bring us back to the panel and Don Peoples. It resonated with me when he was talking about the fact that he learned in real time, right? Because he was there with his father as they're, creating contracts and things like that. And as a third generation real estate professional myself, like that's how I learned, right? Like they're going on showings and understanding contract negotiation and talking about this when you're like 6 or 7. But what I love that you're doing is that you're giving them the same opportunity. And it's different reading it in a book than actually seeing it in person. And going back and doing the wraparound services that you're talking about, it's understanding that, yes, you can do this, but yes, you're also worthy of this. Changing the mentality.
That's so important. And you talk about the practical application. So in the documentary you saw, there's a young woman who's now at the Obama Foundation, Corinth Jackson. At the time, she was a senior at Columbia. And we spent 6 weeks together filming that. She would say she's learning more in these 6 weeks than her 4 years at Columbia, which, there's the book knowledge, right, classroom, but when I'm taking you to meet professionals that look like you're in conversation, you're seeing how deals really work, that's I think the most important part. That's how I learned. I didn't go to school for this. I was brought into a deal, had an opportunity to, my very first meeting in Baltimore with the team was with city, with land use, with council people, with the mayor. What do you do and how do you do that? Show me. And my partners, and I'm not afraid to say, no, repeat that again. Okay, hold on, wait, say that again. Capital stack, what the fuck is that? Like, mezzanine financing, like what? Like, you know what I mean? A real thing. Yeah. So Investopedia. And like Renee always says, Googling God. So you can learn everything you really do need to learn, certainly doing the research, but also having people that are going to be willing to sit you down and explain things over and over and over again, and you start applying it. And I think a lot of times what people don't realize, no matter where you are in your journey, you know more than somebody that don't know what you know.
Absolutely.
So there's always an opportunity to continue to teach and reach back. And then the other thing is, always surrounding myself with people that know way more than me.
Yes.
So even if a deal comes my way, I know my limitations. So it might be around, the knowledge base, it might be around access to capital, whatever it might be. Then I'm going to go find those people that know more than me and bring them into the situation and make sure that we cut favorable deals together. So.
And the synergy within that is something that's going to take you even further, and especially the youth. And for them to understand that it's important not just to have people that are smarter than you in the room, but see things in a different way, right? Because you can have the same educational background, but it's going to be completely different the way that you take things at the end of the day because of your life experience, and that you need to enable yourself to have a diversified perspective. Because if you don't, then you're just going to have a whole bunch of yes men, and you're never going to get further than where you need to go. So I'm excited that you're actually being able to bring that and show that to them.
I like that. Yeah, that's important. It's funny because here at CBC, I had Michael Jeans, who I mentioned from Growth Ops out of Cleveland. There's a brother who I met in Detroit when I met you, Jason Dixon, who's doing great work around education and working in broadband, teaching young people how to build set up these systems, and he's a heavy real estate guy. And then there's a brother, Dr. Henry McCoy, that's a Biden appointee that works for the Department of Energy, who I met in Martha's Vineyard this summer.
Wow.
And all I wanted to do during CBC was make sure those three guys met each other. And so I was able to bring them together, right? And that's one of the things I love about being in this journey because where I get to travel, the people I get to meet, and then go, oh wait, you're doing this dope shit in Detroit, you're doing some dope stuff in Cleveland. My man is between North Carolina and DC. Y'all need to know each other. He's got $16 billion. He's got to figure out how to deploy to our communities. What you're doing is worthy of being funded. And so we're all sitting in a room with Dr. George Fraser yesterday, who's another friend and colleague, and he's from Cleveland. And so he's working on something called the African American Business Hall of Fame. Okay. And so I was having a meeting with him, but I brought them along. And so we're sitting in the room, and Dr. Fraser shares his vision, and then everyone got a chance to share a perspective about his vision, which I love, kind of sitting in the cut, listening to Jason talk, or listening to Michael talk, listening to Henry talk, and share those different perspectives on what Fraser's doing. And, you know, you asked the question, well, how's CBC been for me? One of the things I love is that very different from Hollywood. Right? There's an intentionality of us working together for the greater good of business and not celebrity and shine, which is, you know, I love my journey in arts, but it's very, very different when you're about your business, particularly when you're about housing, right? Because you're offering a service that is transformative. Like, yes, films can be transformative, TV can be transformative in a different kind of way. This is a much more sustainable way, right? You selling someone a home, you know, it's a game changer for them and what they're able to do from a legacy perspective. And so that's one of the things I really love about here. And then also building a deeper relationship with NAREB, you know, and because the work that you all are doing is really, really important. And everybody should know who NAREB is. Everyone doesn't. And so
we're working on it.
No, but we I mean, you got to have the intention. You got to take action. You got to do things like a podcast. You got to have people like me come up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, because we're in the streets. We're on the ground floor with the people.
Yeah,
you know, educating people.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, helping people change their lives. And so, we're from the top all the way to the bottom, and then straight up to the top again.
Yeah.
So how did you connect with NAREB?
It's actually a really beautiful story. So I shot this doc in 2019 during COVID. I was spending those couple of years editing. And then some friends asked me to screen at this thing called Film Nation in Harlem during Black History Month of 2022. So it's February. And so they had a location. It's a building in Harlem. It happened to be a building of a NAREB member, Ken Morrison.
Okay.
And so my partners from my Baltimore deal, Dan Bythewood and Ian Arias of La Cité Development, I invited them to come see it. And they were like, oh, that's Kenny's building. So they called Ken to come through. And Ken hadn't been scheduled to come, so he came and watched the doc. And he was so inspired by it. He was like, yo, man, you need to bring this to NAREB.
Absolutely.
You know, and so he initially said, you know, bring it to the national convention. But the Birmingham Regional Convention was coming up with Marcus Brown. So then he first connected with Marcus. I got to meet Renee. And then I was invited to Tampa. I got to meet Courtney before she was, you know, elected. And then Courtney and I sat and we talked about, you know, what she intended to do and what I'm working on. And we've just been rocking ever since.
Absolutely. Shout out to Mr. President Ken Morrison.
That's right.
United Developers Council. But that's what it's about. You know, we're a network of purposeful, passionate people.
And that's how I ended up in Detroit. Once again, you know, what's her name? Tanisha Wilson. Yeah, in Detroit. And then I was invited back, but I'm going to be, I don't know where I'm being, somewhere in America.
Well, you're here with us now.
Working,
yeah,
right.
yeah. But absolutely. So yeah, and it's been dope. It's been dope.
Well, we're here to support you.
I feel that.
We're here to support you because what you're doing. I mean, you've already made a name for yourself. You know, you're pretty much a household name, man. Your face, they see your face, they know what it is. But with what you're doing, you're bringing attention to not only just real estate, but you're bringing attention to Black people building wealth through real estate, sustaining themselves through real estate, creating foundations through real estate. And beyond that, not only just are we sustaining, but we're taking things to the next levels because now we're developing, creating things that didn't exist before we got here. That's powerful.
Yeah, my parents always said, make a place better than it was when you found it. Or my mother would say that all the time, and my father would say, if there's a crack, fill it. Yeah. Right? So you see a crack in the space, you go, okay, what can I put there? And the other thing I think that we all get to enjoy, like, I have a friend out of Toronto that texts me and say, hey, I've got a developer friend that's going to be at your panel. And they only came to go to the panel, which was extraordinary. Wow. I just left them in a meeting. That's why I was late. And what I found out is, so it's a woman, Sherrod Brown, I think his last name is, and Priscilla Facey. And she DM'd me maybe a week ago, but I didn't really see it till after the panel. Mm-hmm. So my man texts me 2 days ago. She DMs me. I see it. I'm like, oh, I thought it was a guy that was supposed to DM me. But then Sherrod DM'd me this morning. Yeah. And I realized they're partners. Mm. So I text them and I said, oh, I can meet you at noon. So we're meeting. And I was like, what time is your flight? They said, it's at 8. I was okay. They said, but we actually were at the airport. And we checked in. And we were about to leave on an earlier flight. But when you text us, we were having breakfast. We were like, no, we got to go back. So Sherrod had never actually checked out of his room. Wow. The women checked out of their rooms. They went back to their hotel, got dressed to come meet me. Extraordinary. I mean, I literally got on my knees. Like, that's the kind of power of what we're up to. Yeah. Right? And the intentionality. It's I've never experienced that in Hollywood. I can tell you that. Yes. Ain't nobody getting off nobody's airport to be like, come back and have this meeting. At least I haven't had that experience. Yeah. But, I've been saying that I feel like we are responding to the call of our ancestors in a way that I haven't really experienced before in my life. There's an intentionality and a vibration and a frequency people are operating on. This idea like we want to do this for the sake of Black people. We don't have to know each other, right? We talk about generational wealth building. Same reason why we do From the Ground and Flipping the Hood. It's the same thing. Generational wealth isn't just about my children. It's about your kids. You may not even have kids yet, but we have to think about what are we doing for the benefit of the whole. And that's what CBC represents. That's what NAREB is represented. That's what Yoba Development represents. And the fact that we all get to meet and our new friends in Canada, and I've spent a lot of time filming in Canada, in Toronto specifically where they're from. And in fact, he just showed me a whole deck and he put Yoba Development and then the name of their company after on his deck. Wow. And he was like, we'd love for you to participate in this. And it's in an area called Muskoka, which is by Lake Ontario, Northern Ontario. It's like the Hamptons of Canada where people go for their summer homes. They call them cottages up there, even though it could be 10,000 square feet. It's still a cottage. Right. But that thing, right, where even across the border, we're seeing each other. We're seeing how we may collaborate. And it's just extraordinary. Wow. Yeah.
What I'm hearing, two things actually really popped out to me as you were talking. One thing that was like an old adage that my uncle always said to me, and it's speaking to me as you're talking. It's the understanding that when you're in purpose and you're intentional, the universe is always going to provide you with whatever you need. And, as I hear your story, all of these people that are coming to be, the person who was going to get on a plane and then decided not to because they want to have the conversation, the fact that you're connecting all of these people, obviously you have to be within purpose because everything's popping up the way that it should. And then secondarily, and, shout out to our past president, Julius Cartwright, but he always would say to me, it's very important to be a connector of people, a connector of spaces, a connector of purpose. And what I'm hearing you saying, in the example that you had with the 3 people is, I'm just here. I wanted to connect them. But you find your blessings in the fact that you connect others and you provide for them. So hearing that, I just want to say kudos to you. And I'm just super excited. I think we're super excited for the partnership within NAREB because, again, you're within purpose, we're within purpose. So what cannot happen?
We're just going to purpose together.
Right. Let's do it.
Purposeful people, purposing together.
Yes.
We're going to out there right now.
People, places, and things, that's right? Yeah.
So what's next for Malik Yoba and Yoba Development?
It's not so much what's next, it's what's present.
I heard that.
You know what I mean? Because
it's a journey.
It's a journey, and you got to be careful not to try to do too much at once because of who I am, the spaces I get into, what I can attract. People have stuff all over the place, and so it's great because, one of the things I love, in the last few years when I get invited to go speak somewhere, it's not Malik Yoba the actor. In fact, Courtney had it wrong at the luncheon. Don't you ever do that again? No, on my little placard it said actor, activist. I said, Courtney, make sure it says founder and CEO of Yoba Development. Mm-hmm. Like, I will always be that. I'm a multi-hyphenate, but you move into this space with intentionality, you have to claim what it is. Like, Yoba Development started 2017, and I've only really been in the public the way I am now in the last couple of years, 2-3 years, in terms of leading with content, leading with media, leading with education. The development journey has been since 2007, 2008, learning the game before I was like, all right, let me start my own shingle and like go out there and let the world know who you are. So what's present is a lot of opportunity that I have to be responsible for. 100%. A lot of relationships to manage, projects. So I mentioned Augusta. There's opportunities in New York. So part of a team just responded to an RFP to redevelop public housing. So New York's doing these deals where they're partnering with private developers for public housing because, like, a lot of times people think it's the city that just isn't paying. No, it's Congress and it's the federal government that's putting, fewer and fewer dollars into public housing. So now private developers are able to redevelop these properties, not own them. City will still own them. They remain perpetually owned by the city and affordable, but you get to put it on your balance sheet. And you get to, participate in those rent rolls. And so being part of some of those deals in the city and in other cities, we just, same group, NHP Foundation, People's Corporation was part of it, McKissick. Yep. We had responded to one in Nashville we didn't get. But, these kinds of things are happening where I get invited as founder and CEO of Yoba Development. I'm Malik Yoba, the actor, which is great. Even though I'm still going to be the actor for people. But I love that people respond to you the way you insist that you're seen. Yes. Right? And so if people go, well, what's going on with the movie business? I'm like, oh, you're not hearing what I'm telling you right now? Because at the end of the day, any movie you see me in, I don't own it.
That's true.
So
true.
I appreciate them, but but there's stuff coming, and so I do have some scripted stuff. Okay. We got a series that's like The Wire meets Billions, set in the world of real estate.
I love Billions,
in New York.
So yes, that's exciting.
So it's exciting. So when this writer's strike is over, we're definitely pushing that to go into production in hopefully 2024. Nice.
Maybe we can do a NAREB viewing when it's done.
Well, we're a long way from even shooting it. But even that, like how I'm approaching that from a business perspective, is not like let me go to a network or a studio and pitch it. It's like raising the money independently, shooting it, and then licensing it. Developing it. Yeah. So it's, so there's the content. We have a digital platform I mentioned yesterday based on that newspaper I was holding up that's coming live. I'm glad NAREB is going to do a publication as well. I think that's important. The media piece is really, really important, like this podcast. Absolutely. And then there's, opportunities, mostly on the East Coast right now from Boston to Georgia, but, at different stages. And as in the development side, that's a long game. But, so yeah, there's other things happening too, but
I got you.
It's all exciting.
Steady motion.
For sure.
You got motion.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What's the best way for people to follow you?
Down the street. See me just start walking behind me. No, all my socials. At Malik Yoba.
Got you.
I'm mostly on Instagram, even though somebody hacked my Facebook account. So Twitter, it's my same Malik Yoba. Didn't do threads. Didn't do that.
I jumped on it. It kind of fizzled out. Really
it did.
Fast.
It did. Yeah.
It didn't last long.
But I'm mostly on IG. Yeah.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Well, we got your IG right here on the screen so they can see it. Absolutely. We appreciate you spending some time with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know how busy you are.
Yep.
But before we go, can you look into the camera for us and give a call to action? Whatever call to action you think it should be for our members, what would you say?
Wow. I would say, well, having sat at Courtney's, Madam President, her luncheon the other day, I think she has a very, very strong vision for where she wants to take the organization. So I would say definitely get involved with the Black Developers Academy if you can. Contribute to Realtist Connect. Is that what the magazine is going to be called?
Yes.
Realtist Connect.
I'd say right.
that. Definitely be involved with the Building Black Wealth Tour. Continue to expand your knowledge base. You know, just being a realtist is limiting. And so I think that having the courage to pursue the information that will help you scale your knowledge base to play in those places that you feel really uncomfortable. Like I said in the panel yesterday, I'm uncomfortable all the time.
Yes.
All the time, because I don't know everything. And so I'm always seeking knowledge. And so, you know, doing big, I've never done $500 million development before, but I'm involved in it.
So you will.
Yeah, but because it's the same process. Entitlements, you know, zoning issues, raising financing, finding architects, engineers, just, you know, surveys, all the things you got to do. So you're just continuing to do it so that it becomes second nature. So some parts of it is second nature, other parts I'm like, what the hell? What are we doing? But that's the only way we're going to grow. So be uncomfortable, intentional, on purpose, in purpose, and you'll get there.
Heard that.
Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're excited for the partnership and where it goes from here.
Absolutely.
I'm excited for y'all. Keep going. Is the two of y'all always hosting together? Is that?
Yes, this is
the Realtist Real Talk Podcast.
Okay, when did you start this?
Shoot.
It's been, 2 years, basically?
It's been 2 years already?
It's been 2 years. So we do it usually at Midwinter and the National, and we've now added CBC and the Black Summit and things like that, because we're trying to expound and make sure we hit all audiences, not just NAREB, because there's so many people out there that we want to ensure know about NAREB and what they're doing, but also that can do the work themselves too.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
good stuff. All right, cool.
we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank
Namaste.
you.
Thank you.